Panagdait sa tanan and welcome back to Contemporary Philippine Arts from the Regions. Before we start our lesson, let's have a short review. Without looking at your notes, kindly define National Artist Award. You may pause the video when answering, and once you are done, you may play the video again. Okay, I will assume that you already have your answer. Let us now check the definition. So the following are the definition of a National Artist Award. If you want to learn more about this or to have a recap of our previous discussion, I suggest that you will check our previous video that is uploaded here in GenU. Let us now proceed to our new lesson. Our lesson for today is about the various contemporary art forms. With our objectives, at the end of the lesson, you are expected to differentiate artistic expression and artistic form by making a Venn diagram, choose one artistic form to create a business design, and analyze a scenario about art ethics through oral recitation. So let's start by having this Venn diagram. If you are not yet familiar, Venn diagram consists of two or more circles, and each of those circles has their own name. We have, depende po siya no sa subject. In our case, we have art expression and art form. So, kaning circle na ang name kay art expression, ang information nga itong i-input dira is those informations or details nga only through kay art expression. While the same ra pod aning second not circle na ang name niya is art form. So the informations that will be inputting here are informations that is true to art forms. Notice that at the middle is nag-join ang circle ni art form o circle ni art expression. That is because ang information nga itong i-input dira is their similarities. Similarities ni art expression as well as ni art form. So I will give you time to research about the difference between the two and tell me their similarities. You may write down your answer. You may pause the video now and play it again once you are done. I will assume that you already have your answer. So let us now check our answer here if we have the same details. So by the way, before we explain this, let us note that the only difference between the two is the second term or the second word, which is expression and form. So all we have to do here is to define expression as well as the form. Expression refers to the process of making known one's thoughts or feeling. Di ba familiar naman kita ang sanang expression? It is our way of reacting to certain happening. For example, unsa may reaction nato upon watching the certain movies, unsay na feel nato. But in this particular scenario naman tay word nga art expression man ta, meaning the reaction nato is gipaagi nato siya by making an artwork. It could be drawing, writing a song or singing and so on. What about art form? So let us now define form. Form is a visible shape. So mo na'y kalainan nila. Si art form, it merely focuses on artistic work nga visible. From the word visible, dapat makita gyud siya. Kani si art expression, it can be pwede man siya na ay form, but pwede pod wala. Si art form is, the-focus ra siya mismo anang artworks nga makita. By the way, nabaday tay artwork na dili makita. Of course na we have music. 'Di ba ang music dili man nato siya makita, but madunggan nato siya and ato siyang ma-feel. So that is an example of the difference between the two. And to highlight it, ang art expression, pwede siya mahimong art form, pwede siya makita, pwede po siya dili makita. While si art form, visible ra gyud siya dapat. What about their similarities? Unsa may kaparihan nila? So, aside from art silang duha, so here is also the similarities or murag join nato sila ba ilang definition. So, art is an expression made visible by a form. So, di ba, although lahi-lahi sila si art expression, lahi pud si art form, they can actually pwede sila magkasinabot in the world of art. So, basically, according here, art is an expression made visible by a form. So, nagamit na nato si art expression, nagamit po nato si art form. That is according to Megan Bostic. To make it clear, let's have an example. Are you familiar with the Taj Mahal? So the Taj Mahal was built as a tomb for Mumtaz Mahal, chosen or the chosen one of the palace by her husband. So unsa may connection ani niya sa kuan sa tuang phrase nga naa sa babaw. So art is an expression made visible by a form. So kaning Taj Mahal, this is actually a building pero dili na siya building lang ha. Mura siya kanang lubganan. Dira gilubong si um, kani si Mumtaz Mahal. Dira siya gilubong and ang naghimo anang Taj Mahal nga building is ang gapahimo ana is iyang husband. Unsa may reason sa iyang husband to do that? Ang reason niya is to show his love, to show his affection to his wife. So this is a very good example actually sa tuang phrase. Another example kanang makarelate tatanan is the statue of Saint Columban. Okay, dili lang kay Saint Columban, but the statue of the saints and other people, di ba, naputay statue ni Rizal. Sa may reason nga nung natay mga statue. It is, if in the world of religion, sa Catholic, kaning mga statue sa tuang saints, it is our way of showing our faith, di ba? Kana pong mga statues sa itong mga heroes, that is our way of honoring those heroes for sacrificing themselves, their time for our country. So this is just an example of how we can apply this term. Art is an expression made visible by a form. But in this subject, no, dili na to na sila i-combine. We will be separating art expression and artistic form. So we already discussed artistic expression in our previous lesson. This time, we'll be focusing more on artistic form. So the following it are the various contemporary art forms: practical art, industrial art, applied art, civic art, commercial art, graphic art, agricultural art, business art, fishery art, and medical art. Starting with practical art, it is also called utilitarian, from the word utility meaning useful. It is the changing of raw materials for utilitarian purposes but must possess ornaments or artistic qualities to make them useful and beautiful. Para dili ta maglibog, let us remember the term practical, di ba? From kung maghisgot matag practical, this refers to those things na magamit yun. So basically, practical art are mga artworks na ginagamit sa tao everyday tapos dapat na po siya ay artistic work. For example, plato. 'Di ba everyday man ta nagagamit og plato? And aside from that, kung nakabantay mo ang mga plato na ay lain-laing design. So that is an example of practical art. Although very useful, 'di ba makagamit ra man gyud plato maskin wala siya design. So to make use of it as a practical art, gibutangan siya design for various reason for. In the point of view sa artist, it is their way of showing their expression kung sa ilang na feel mo na gibutangan nila design decoration ilang plato, but in the point of view of the businessman, it is for business only, di ba? Kay naman siya yung mga tao nga mahilig kayo na sila ilang own standards of beauty and then mamili po sila unsay plato nilang gusto, for example. So in the world of business, gamit po kaayoning practical art. And then another example is kanang bangko, 'di ba? Makalingkod ra man gitag bangko. Skin sa itsura sa bangko, lain-lain man tag itsura sa bangko. And yet there are some chairs nga nindot kay sa nga tanan. So dira gyapon siya ma-fall sa practical art. So basically those mga object na ginagamit nato every day that has decoration, gina-decoratean na siya para nindot siya ng tawon. Next, industrial art, from the word industry meaning economic activity concerned with the processing of raw materials and manufacture of goods in factories. It is also the changing of raw materials into some significant products for human: shellcraft, bamboo craft, leather craft, pottery making, sheet metal work, and manufacture of automobiles, home appliances, and television set. To make it clear, industrial art is also called as technology education. And if we want to elaborate this one, dili nato siya makayag elaborate yun in our class time. We'll be needing another subject allocated for that. So, kani magong industrial art, it has lots of other categories as mentioned here. And then, kanang mga categories dira is maklasify pa nato sila. So in our case, since minor subject raman ta, let's just have a general overview kung unsa ni si industrial art. Anyway, if you are pretty much interested of this type of art, you can always research that in Google. But in our case, magod, dili magod siya kayo dili mo okay ra kaayo nga dili na siguro nato siya i-elaborate taman since to make use of the time pod. Okay, unsa gyud ay ning industrial art? 'Di ba when we say industry atong mahunahunan jud is kanang manpower, kanang dinagko nga trabahoon. That is true actually. So these are the different manufacturers that needs manpower or daghang katrabaho. Mo ganing gi-mention diri factories. So we need factories or companies to do these certain things. Okay, to make it clear, let's check out the example. Okay, mao ni sila. The first one is Monai Shellcraft. So, dili kayo nato siya makita diri sa tuwa. No, let's proceed to the next one. Kana siya is a bamboo craft. So, nganong nag-belong man siya sa industrial art? That is because it cannot be made by a single person. Kay kaning nabilong sa industrial art, those are the artworks that is dinagko na gyud siya ba. So it is merely used for business, kaning mga industrial art. Next, we have pottery making, and the next one is a metal work. And aside ana, napadyo lain, no, we have automobiles, home appliances, and television sets. Furnitures, appeal po na siya diri. Wala na nako siya di-appeal ang mga pictures and examples because ay kabalo naman ko nga na namoy idea kung unsa na sila. So to make it clear, industrial art are those artworks or nga ginagamit sa mga business, sa mga factories and companies for business. So mga furniture and appliances. Applied art or household art refers mostly to household arts such as flower arrangement, interior decoration, dressmaking, homemaking, embroidery, cooking, and others. So, aron dili ta maglibog, kaning applied art basta maghisgot tag applied art, let us also associate it with household. So anything that is found in the house can be referred to as applied art. So maskin pag practical art na siya such as katong bangko o lamesa o plato nga gidiscuss na to earlier, guided nga mabutang na siya sa balay, mahulog na siya as applied art. Kung mabutang na siya sa balay, for purposes of decoration. So such as an example nato dire. Civic art refers to city or town. So kanang civic, it refers to city or town. So meaning, these are the artworks nga makita sa tuang city. So include city or town planning, maintenance and beautification of parks. These refer to beautification to improve the standards of living. Particularly, this is particularly done by the government and the local officials. So mo nilang mga trabaho, no? We have here an example. And then, gi-appeal po na ako sa example ato ang usay tawag na dancing fountain. That is a very good example for our civic art. And aside ana, pwede po ning boulevard, ato ang plaza, kanang mga tourist attractions sa ato ang lugar, kana pong mga malls included na sila. Commercial art, from the word commercial na makita nato sa TV, no, advertisement. So sayon ra kay ni, it involves business propaganda in the form of advertisement in newspapers and magazines, sign paintings, billboard and announcement, leaflets, displays, poster designing, movie illustration, and many more. So I'm very sure familiar na mo unsa ning commercial art. Let's proceed sa example. So the first one is a billboard. This is okay, lain-lain mag-form ang commercial art. As mentioned, pwede siya makita sa newspaper and magazine, but dili naman kayo siya makita. Dili naman kayo naggalantog newspaper and magazine karon. Asa naman siya ning transfer? Dadto na ning transfer sa tuang social media accounts, Facebook as well as sa tuang Instagram. Sign painting, billboard. So sa itong example, we have here a billboard. It can also be an announcement, leaflets, displays, poster designing, movie illustrations. For poster designing, atong example ani is the logo. Kaning logo nga Shopee o ni Lazada. So di ba sin logo pa lang daan kabalo na ta nga business iyang i-promote. So that is the influence of commercial art. By the way, before ta proceed, I'm not sure if you have realized this, but our topic today now is very related sa tuang strand, which is ABM. So more on business ato ang topic karon. So basically, ang art actually or ang business manggod is partneran gyud nato na siya art. And so far, tanang gimension nato diri nga forms of art is related. Okay, graphic art from the word graphic relating to visual art. It is anything printed from raised or sunken relief and plain surfaces. This is just a review, no? We already discussed visual art as an artwork that is two-dimensional. Meaning to say, flat lang siya, dili siya, wala siya length, wala siya other dimensions. Naroon siya length and width, tapos wala na siya height. So here is an example of graphic art. Included na diri si traditional art which is paper and pencil as well as si digital art. Next, we have agricultural art. When we say agriculture, i-associate man gyud nato na siya sa nature, no? As well as sa mga planting, which is correct. So, agricultural art refers to crop production. Kanabitang sa farm nato, sa palayan, mga production of mga goods bitaw such as fruits and vegetables. Included na siya sa agricultural art. Horticulture, which is garden or orchard cultivation. Kanang mga kaila na to nga plantito, plantita dira which is also kaayo karon. So diri na siya nabilong sa horticulture. Husbandry, which refers to raising of animals, cows, carabaos, poultry, and swine. And kana bitang makita na to sa farm. Basically, agricultural art applicable kayo ni siya sa farm, sa mga bukid-bukid. So here is an example of agricultural art. We have a field of crops there as well as a garden. If you can still remember sa tuang to elementary pa tano, I'm not sure if na ang public, private ani, but sa public, uso kayo ng mag-garden-garden. So each classroom na sila ilahang garden. Next, we have business art. So we will not be discussing business art today. We will set that aside for our next meeting as well as kanisi fishery art o si medical art. So proceed to sa next slide. Okay, before ta mag-end, kindly pause the video and try to elaborate all the various contemporary art forms that we've discussed so far. You are given, okay, please pause the video. Once you are done, you may play the video again. I will assume that you already had your answer. Let us now check kung unsa to mga contemporary art. So we have practical art, industrial art, applied art, civic art, commercial art, graphic art, agricultural art, business art, fishery art, and medical art. Okay, that would be the end of our lesson for today. And please make sure to answer the activities attached to this video. You may answer that for the expiration date. And thank you guys for coming, and I hope to see you again next meeting. Good, you just a business.